YouTube family, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm answering all the questions you have about the craft show. If you missed yesterday's video, I showed you an update on my 4-day craft show. I'm gonna put the card above. You don't wanna miss that video because during this video, I'm addressing all the questions that you guys had. I'm giving you a real raw insight in what it is to really run a great big show. After I upload videos, I always stay online and chat with you guys in the comments section. Yesterday, I didn't address many questions that were asked in the comments section because I knew this would be a great opportunity to be able to answer questions that many people would want to hear the answer to. My overall thoughts of the show was that it was a lot of fun to be able to have a pop-up shop for 4 days. I love being able to showcase my items where people can see them. A lot of people see them on my videos, but to be able to see a tangible item is really neat to be able to set up a marketed area showcasing all of your hard work. It was a lot of fun to do the show with my mother-in-law. We've done shows before together, and so it was a nice experience to be able to spend extra time with her in addition to being in the full holiday spirit of a holiday show. Let's get to your questions. Becky Jones asked, I loved hearing about your successful show experience. I'm also interested in how you package your merchandise. You are so inspiring and very talented. Congratulations on your success. Thank you so much, Becky, for the support. I packaged all of the items that were larger in my booth in the really thick, clear, recyclable bags. I knew that the weather was super crummy that weekend with some freezing rain patches. I didn't want anything to get wet, even though everything was protected. All of my small items we used in the recycled brown paper craft bags with some tissue paper, so they had something small to carry around the show. Now, Voyager NE, I'm not sure what kind of crafts your mother-in-law makes. Can you show us what they look like? Do you think smalls are a kind of consolidation prize for folks who love your work but cannot afford the larger, more expensive items, yet they want to buy something from you? I did find that I had quite a few people that visited me from the booth that did want to buy one of my items. I did have a lot of options for smalls that were under the $15 mark, which I did think really helped people be able to take something home. The larger items that I have in my booth are actually set at a great price point. I really try to keep my cost for my supplies as low as possible. That way I know that my items are all in a price point that most families can afford. Also, because of my YouTube, people can actually make these items at a lower cost themselves by following my DIYs. The second part of that question was what kinds of crafts does my mother-in-law make? She makes a lot of fiber arts. She does rug hooking, quilts using upcycled materials. In the video, you can see all of the beautiful fibered Christmas trees. My mother-in-law made all of those. I'm trying to convince her to get some of her items online. Morgan Lee Creations asks, first of all, thanks for sharing. I've been wanting to do a show, but feel like I never have enough inventory. How much inventory would you recommend for a show? This is the first time that I have ever done a 4-day show. I have done a few hours one evening and then a full day the next, but that's the biggest show that I had participated in before this event. I really wasn't sure exactly how much I was going to need, and so I always figure if I take too much, it's better than having too little. That way I don't lose out on any profits from my show. I did probably take a little bit more than I needed to at this show, but when I arrived, I didn't think that I had enough. So you just kind of have to base it on if you've been to that show before. It's also good to maybe get in touch with some other vendors who have participated in those events before and just ask them if they mind sharing with you how much do they usually take when they go to those events. When deciding on how much inventory to take, I like to try to aim for about 10 times what my cost of my booth or table is. So if I want to make $3,000, for example, on an event, I need to know that I have more than $3,000 worth of inventory. If I sell out every single item, I want to make sure that I can meet my target goal. Jordan Lore asks, so glad that your items were a success at the show. Did you have a system to keep track of your inventory? If you were out of an item, did you make a commitment to fill the order at a later date? I actually am not doing any custom orders right now with my business. Since starting YouTube, it's really hard to be able to balance absolutely everything. And I'm really enjoying using YouTube for my platform to create my content. So I didn't offer at the show to create any customs for anyone after the event. Prior to this, maybe 2 years ago, I would have done that and taken orders if people paid a deposit for their order. People don't always follow through when they place a custom order, so make sure you get at least a deposit, if not the full asking price for that custom at a show. Veronica Bone is asking if my mom has a YouTube channel. I am trying so hard to get mom to make small cameos and get her a little more comfortable with the camera on my channel. She makes amazing creations, and so I'm really hoping in the new year, fingers crossed, with enough of your positive comments, maybe we can get her on the channel. Cobweb Afternoon asks, Looks like you did very, very well. How do you keep track of inventory for your show? I usually just keep a list of all of the items that I'm taking and what their price point is. I like to try to mark off at the end of each day which items have sold so I can keep track each day what my sales were. I like to make a pretty detailed inventory list before I go. That way I know how much I've invested and how much my profit return was at the end of the entire event. I try not to think about it as each individual day too much until I look at what the whole event was as a whole at the end. Art Lady Blunser asks, how do you determine how much of each item to take with you? How do you set up your prices, and how do you think your biggest item seller was? All right, so my biggest seller items were all of my small handmade ornaments and anything that was scroll saw cut out. I sold all of my large vintage trucks, all of my vintage truck ornaments, and almost all of the items that I had on my white rack. I'll put the card above for that video. You don't want to miss all the cute ornaments that I made during that video. I really wish that I would have had a lot more smalls for this show. It looked like there was just not a lot of people that wanted to carry anything around, and so I'll definitely make sure that I have more smalls for future events. When setting the prices for the items, I always take into consideration first, how much does it cost me to make the item, how much time, and what any packaging do I have to have on this item to be able to sell it properly. I really keep all of my pricing for how much it costs me to make something really, really minimal. And so mostly I'm charging for my time when I'm creating upcycled materials. But when I need to buy new materials to create things, my prices can't be as low as I hope to have them. So I need to make sure that I don't sell myself short for how much time it takes me to make my items. I find that when people are crafting, they forget the aspect of how much time it takes them to make the item. They just worry about how much it costs them to make. And sometimes it's hard to keep track of exactly what you've spent when you're making a lot of different items. So keep a really detailed list so you don't sell yourself short. Make sure you pay yourself for your time. Your time means money. Karen Gerst commented, I saw plenty of signs I would have gladly purchased. Thank you, Karen. My question is, can you give a ballpark estimate for the cost of the booth space and materials for your products so someone can see what kind of investment is needed to get into craft shows? So for example, if your show cost you $500 to be at an event, you have a 10 by 10 booth. You want to hope that you can make 10 times the amount of your booth cost. That means you would need $5,000 worth of inventory to be able to meet that target goal. So you'd likely need more than that. If you actually sold every item, you would only meet that goal. Depending on what niche you're in, your actual supply cost for your inventory is going to vary. With me, because I do wood signs, it's actually quite costly for me to be able to make them. So I need to actually sell a lot more of them to create my profit, because it just costs me too much to be able to make my items. If I made something smaller, maybe like hand soap, it wouldn't cost me as much in inventory to create $5,000 worth of inventory. Sanhita Data asks, so glad your show was a success. I'm no one surprised that it was. I've missed your videos. Thank you. Did you make the Christmas trees? And do you think that, she doesn't think she's seen a video for that. Can you please do one? My mother-in-law makes those Christmas trees out of upcycled wool. They're absolutely amazing in person. It just was really hard to capture them on camera. She uses upcycled women's pantsuits, skirts, different types of wool material that she finds thrifted, and creates these amazing trees using wire and wool. Again, I'll have to convince her to do a video for me. S. Simmons left me a nice long comment. I've been waiting for this video and I'm thrilled that I had great success. She would have loved to come to the show, but Texas is very far away. Yes, I live in Canada. Texas is very far. I do have a question. I'm wanting to do a few shows next year. You briefly spoke about pricing and I'd love for me to elaborate on this. Can I calculate on asking prices? And if I please break it down, time, expenses. She loves everything that we're doing and she's learned so much for watching the videos. Thank you so much, S. Simmons. I know I've already talked about pricing, but I want to touch on some of the other costs and expenses from doing a show that you don't want to forget to include in your profit margin. Like, for example, your travel expenses, driving back and forth from your home or your location to where the show is. That actually was 5 days of me driving an hour both ways to get to and from the show. So you need to make sure you don't forget about these costs when you're attending an event. Also, packing yourself a lunch, tags, different supplies you might need for packaging. You want to keep a really detailed list so you can really look at if it was worth your time and money to do a great big show like this. Sherry Wilson asked a great question that I wanted to address during this video, and that she said, great showing. Question, what payment methods did I use? I actually think this is a really, really, really important topic. I've done shows before where I've only taken cash transactions until I learned about some alternate payment methods that really help me to be able to get more sales at my show. Not everyone brings cash to a craft show, although you would think that would be kind of a no-brainer to take cash. But I've learned that if I don't have another method, I will lose out on more than half of my sales. So I use a Square reader that accepts credit cards, so I can do a cash and credit option. I've done cash, credit, and debit before, but didn't have success using the debit machine. A lot of my transactions actually didn't process through correctly doing the debit. So I was a little worried with this big show to try that again. I need to do some more research on that. But this option that I used at this particular show was just cash or credit. Over half of my transactions this weekend were just through credit card transactions on my Square. It takes about 48 hours for that money to process to you through Square after the event, but it's more than worth it. Otherwise, I would have lost out on half of my money. Reclaim Mercantile asked, how do you choose what show fits you? And do you make things that you would use in your home, or do you create things that are trendy? In regards to what shows fit me, I do a lot of research before attending a show. I look at maybe photos I can kind of sneak around online and see, did I see how much traffic looks like is in the aisles when people have taken pictures at events? I ask lots of questions to the person that's hosting the event. I want to know if they're knowledgeable and they have experience. How long has this show been running? What are they saying the attendance is supposed to be like? I also look and see what else can I research and find is it going on in that area during that weekend that a show is going on. There's lots of factors that you want to really consider that can affect how well you're able to do at a show. If you have no traffic, you can have no sales. So you want to really make sure you do a lot of research. You also want to make sure that the shows that you're attending are a fit for your niche. Sometimes there's shows that have a lot of the same type of creator, and competition is okay, but you still want to make sure that they're being selective. I often notice that it's a red flag if I apply for a show and within seconds I get a reply back saying, send us your money, you're in the show. You want to make sure that you have a jury that chooses who goes to that show. That way you know that they're looking for high quality items only to be at that event. The second part of this question is, do I make things that I would put in my home, and do I make things that are trendy? I pretty much only make things that I would actually like to have in my own home. I like to design things that I like, which is kind of nice because I get to make all of my own designs, and a lot of times some of them do end up in my home. I don't make a whole lot of stuff that I necessarily think are on trend. For example, I did make some little red truck stuff for this event, but I've avoided this trend for the last 3 years because I just don't like to make things that everyone else is making. So I try to make sure if I do make something that's trendy, that I put my own spin on that type of item. For example, I made some scroll saw cutout red trucks and I designed the whole design myself. I received a lot of questions about the red truck that's showcased on the table in the front of my booth. If you haven't seen the video, you can check it out. It's right on the front center. I scroll saw cut those out, and we're gonna do a video tomorrow showcasing how I created those. So if you wanna see that video, make sure you comment down below and let me know. Lori Huber asks, craft shows can be iffy. Glad it went well. How did your mother's fiber arts do? Mom actually did really well selling her quilts, and she sold 11 of her trees. She created a dozen of them. She sold 11 of them on the first day. So she only had one left heading into our 4-day event. My Life is Jade asks, when you have someone purchase an item at a craft show, did I give them a business card or a special way of packaging the item? Thank you for inspiring so many people. I actually gave my business card to anyone and everyone that would take one at the show. I take a lot of business cards with me. And mostly during this week, what I did was promoted my YouTube channel because I want to be able to show in my local area that there's someone local that has a channel, which is in the niche of what everyone was shopping in. So anyone who would listen to me about my YouTube channel, I shared that. Normally at events, I would have handed my business card in hopes to get custom orders after. But since I'm not really doing that anymore, today and this whole weekend, it was just all about promoting my channel. I also put a business card in everyone's bag that purchased something from my booth. That way they knew later at home if they wanted something else, they could order it from me using my social media platforms. I also will show you later on this week in a video what I do special to the back of my work. That way when someone gets home or they give it as a gift, they know who to contact to get more of that work. Buzzy Anderson is asking about my truck and tree and how can she get that. I'll be making a couple of those this week to be able to put on my Etsy shop. So I'll put the link down below for my shop. You can check out, it'll notify you when those things go live on my shop. There will be a limited number of these trucks available on my Etsy because I need to be able to ship them in time for Christmas. And I live in Canada and shipping takes a little bit of an extended time. Brenda Shaw asks, when did you start working on items to get ready for the show? And do I just make items all year round to build up inventory gradually? When preparing for the show, it's a great idea to put a calendar out where you have a tentative list of things you want to work on each week to prepare for the event. So think about how much time ahead of a show that you want to give yourself, and maybe make a little list of what you want to create each week to make sure that you're prepared and you don't have to rush everything at the end to get ready. Jacqueline Athman would like to know, how much was my biggest sale? I think my biggest sale was $160. I had a lady come and buy 2 of my largest prints that I had that were $80 each. So that was my biggest sale this weekend. Cindy Bernal has asked a few questions in her comment that I've addressed during this video, but I'll touch on the rest here. She says, way to go, your booth looks great. What was your best-selling item? What was your best-selling item? Which items made you the most profit? What would you do different? What was your biggest takeaway? What items got the most compliments? Can't wait to see your follow-up videos. I was just honored of all the amazing compliments that we got about our booth overall. People really loved my ornaments, which was so fun for me because they were something new that I made and I had so much fun creating them that I just literally wanted to keep making ornaments. My items that I made the most profit, I sold most of my smalls, which added up, I think, in total to be more profit than actually all the signage that I had made, which isn't typical for me because I don't normally take a lot of smalls to shows. So I think my biggest takeaway from this show was that the small items really add up really quickly, and I really could have made a lot more money had I had more smalls. So I think I'll really take that into consideration for my next shows. Kathy Toms is asking if my holiday themed items were more popular than my sustainable all year round items. I actually sold all of my holiday items except for I think one design that I created, which I didn't sell any of that one. So I would say that during this show, I really was surprised that all of my holiday items sold. I don't typically make a lot of holiday themed decor. I just don't really decorate with a lot of that myself. So I kind of like to make all year round decor more than I like to make seasonal, but I sold almost all of my seasonal. So that was actually surprising to me. Last question, Julie Austin asks, your signs are so cute and she loved the ornaments. I'm wondering what is something in hindsight I would change about doing shows. I realized after doing this 4-day show and being gone for 5 days that I didn't love being away from home for this amount of time. I kind of knew that going in, but I thought it would be really worth it for the profit margin to be able to try a larger show like this. Now that I'm not working full-time at my career job, that I would be able to invest a lot more time to be able to do a large show, and I've always wanted to. So in hindsight, I don't think I'll sign up for a show that's 4 or 5 days away from being home. I didn't love doing that. So that's something that I would definitely change. Maybe researching some different types of events that are maybe only 1 or 2 days rather than the extended 4 or 5 days. I also think that I would have changed, obviously bringing more smalls, as I mentioned during this video, and really just looking at the location. It was pretty far for me to travel, and the weather did play a factor this time of year. So I think I would change just a couple things. I did learn a lot from my spring show that I put into effect for this show. So I'll put the card above for my results of my spring show so you can kind of see how I did things differently from that show to this show. My spring show was actually a huge success, and I give lots of tips and tricks during that video on things I learned doing that. I just really think that there was a lot that I could reflect on, and there were many different things between the spring show and the Christmas show, which is really neat for me to be able to now look at those and really reflect and consider what to change for next time. On my channel, I really try to give you guys as much information as I possibly can. These are all questions that I would have asked when I started doing my crafting business that I couldn't find the answer to anywhere. So if you guys have any follow-up questions that I didn't touch during this video, maybe you missed yesterday's video and now you have some questions now that you've seen it, please leave them in the comment section and I'll try to address them in some upcoming videos. I'm really excited about tomorrow's video. I created a red truck design to take to this craft show, which I sold out on. So I want to be able to share that design with you guys so maybe you can make them to sell in your own area. I'm going to be putting the stencil for that on my Etsy, as well as selling some of the finished products. So stay tuned for tomorrow's video so I show you what I created. I want to say thank you to everyone who supported us while we prep for the show, and for everyone who's been sharing our videos around on the internet. It helps my channel grow tremendously when you guys share my videos with people you think will enjoy them. So thank you so much for the support. I've also been having lots of questions on where you guys can find me on other social outlets. I am on Facebook business page as well as Instagram. I'm also on Pinterest and of course my YouTube. If you're not already part of our YouTube family, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Once you've subscribed, there's a little bell beside the subscribe button that will allow you to be notified by YouTube when I put up a new video. So click that bell so you don't miss any future videos. I hope this video inspired you to participate in some of your own local craft shows and to sell some of your handmade items. It's amazing how much extra money you can make for your family when you put a little bit of love and care into making some made with love items. Thank you so much for everyone who's been sending us photos and hashtagging made with love for our Christmas challenge. We've been challenging you guys to create items for Christmas that are made with love. So if you want to send me those pictures, you need to @Elysia English, hashtag made with love. I'll put all the information in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you on tomorrow's video.